Make a city of it. Check had everything on it. We wanted on it, and it went to 3. What we get?
We're good, Scott.
All right. We'll go ahead and call the July 23rd, 2024 Board of Public Works and Safety to order. I do not believe there are any adjustments to the agenda, nor are there any announcements, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. I believe all three of us are here for the meeting minutes. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions, we have a request to approve a sanitary sewer service agreement for Grantham 3 Residential Development. Tim.
Good morning, Tim Menke, City of Fishers Engineering Department. Before you is a typical agreement that we have with a lot of developers that come in for the sanitary sewer. Basically, this section of Grantham is between the section that's already built right now on Southeastern and the Grantham number 4 that's already built on, I believe it's 113th Street. And this basically says that they are going to maintain the sanitary sewer for 3 years, and then it gets shifted over to us to own and maintain.
Motion for adoption.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have a request to accept dedication of private roads. Rich.
Morning, Rich Bassett, Engineering Department. Before you is a request to adopt the private roadways within the Ashford Point neighborhood. Back in 2013, the Board of Public Works adopted a policy providing a pathway for certain private roadways that met criteria and were included on an eligible candidate list. The roadways within Ashford Point were included on that list. That policy laid out certain requirements to be followed, and the HOA has followed all those requirements laid out. And this request is to accept Deerstone Way and Stone Key Way of the Ashford Point neighborhood into the city's inventory. And just a point of clarification, it has been communicated to them that it would be treated as all other neighborhoods and roads with regards to maintenance, future resurfacing. It would be evaluated on an annual basis and would be included within the city's snow plowing operations as well.
Are there any significant maintenance concerns we take on?
There are not. They've done a good job of, regular maintenance on that roadway. I've communicated to them, on the Pacer scale that we use. That was one of the policy steps is that we go out and evaluate it. And I believe it's around a 6 on that 10-point scale right now. So it's in decent shape.
Any other questions for Rich?
What's the length of the new inventory? A mile, mile and a half,
Oh,
2?
I don't have it right in front of me, but it's actually pretty short.
Okay.
I would say it's definitely under a mile.
Okay.
It's under a mile. And the other point is part of this policy is that neighborhood, because these are private roads, we're required to put forth a 10% contribution, which would be 10% of the total resurfaced amount. That will go into an escrow fund that we've set up with control office.
Okay. If there are no other questions, there a motion to approve Ashford Point?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, the request to accept the dedication of eyebrows, Parks at White River.
So a little similar to the last one, the eyebrow is different in that as part of that evaluation that we go look at, the city is prepared to just accept those without a 10% contribution of a future resurface or future maintenance on that. They were just required to perform the legal description and submit those legal descriptions to the city. The Parks at White River has followed all of those steps within that policy and submitted those legal descriptions to us, including the recording fees necessary for recording this at the county. So this request is to accept the dedication of the 5 eyebrows laid out in the exhibits in the Parks at White River neighborhood.
So are both these items, Rich, the Ashford Point and White River, are they both the first of these programs?
Correct. They are the first of the candidate lists that have come forth. We've got a few others in the pipeline that are in various stages, and so you'll probably see more of these forward.
Well, I think it's our intended policy to try to bring these into our inventory so we can maintain that certain level and standard. And a lot of residents already assume that we're taking care of them anyway, so we might as well assume that role and responsibility. Are there any questions for Rich on the Parks of White River? See none, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jason, is there a second? Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next is request to accept traffic schedule amendment. Rich?
So again, Rich Bassett, Engineering Department. This request is simply adding to the city's ordinance a stop sign. When Stevanato was built, there's a brand new road east-west from Robbie Way to Cumberland Road. And this adds the stop sign at Stevanato and Cumberland Road to the city's signage inventory.
Any questions or dramatic pitches as to why we shouldn't have stop signs? See none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Last but not least for Rich, request to approve quote and award contract for Lantern Road sidewalk.
Again, Rich Bassett, Engineering Department. At the direction of the Mayor's Office and our Engineering Department was to look at a construction of a new sidewalk path on the west side of Lantern Road. To give you kind of a geographic location, this is just north of the Pullman Point Apartments to connect all the way up to Meadows Drive, where it connects there by Fisher's Elementary School. So this is a brand new construction of a sidewalk. The city, because of the scope of the project, instead of bidding it, was able to solicit quotes directly from contractors. The lowest, most responsible and responsive was CC&T Construction, the amount of $93,400.
I think Rich and Mackie, we talked about this in our infrastructure meeting. We just want to make sure we stay coordinated with the private development that's occurring in that area so that we're not building a sidewalk that gets torn out in 2 months or 3 months.
Correct. And I have worked with Jordan Willie with economic development, and he has communicated with each of those property owners. Most of those, or all of them, I guess, probably reslated for redevelopment in the future.
Yeah.
So we have permission to move forward in constructing this. And we will be working with them on an easement to do so.
Any other questions? I know this has been a request of several residents in downtown Fisher, so I'm excited to see it get done.
EDA compliant, all that.
ADA compliant, yes.
Great.
There at Francis, there will be a couple of ADA ramps there at that crossing. So
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Rich. Our favorite subject matter, a request to approve an open cut on 116th Street for water service retirement. Becky.
I apologize for this. It's the request to approve an open cut on 116th Street. This is to retire a water service that used to serve Plumber Supply in ahead of the awaited construction there on City View's property. They will cut about 1 foot by 1 foot hole in asphalt, and then they will retire their water line. They will come the next day and put temporary asphalt on. They will come within 2 weeks and then mill and resurface that with SMA. The reason why they take 2 weeks is that SMA is not readily available. So it's easier for us to have them just put temporary on there in addition to what they have currently on their other water retirement area. And then they will come and order the SMA to come in within
You
2
said
weeks.
the open cut is a foot by foot?
Just a square.
1 foot by 1 foot seems more like, almost like a pothole.
Yeah, but they normally just, that's the area where they retire.
So traffic would be restricted in that lane for a
Yeah.
period of time?
Yeah.
2 weeks or?
No. 2 weeks is when they wait to get the asphalt, the SMA asphalt. They will, in the interim, they will put temporary HMA on top until they get the SMA and come back and surface that with SMA.
HMA equals what? What's that acronym?
Hot mix asphalt,
Okay, all right.
SMA stone matrix asphalt.
Okay.
And then the new service for that building that will be put in with
That would be another item.
another,
Come in. Yeah.
That could be several years down the road. Could be some time for that happens. Okay.
Yep.
All right, is there a reluctant motion to approve? Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, the long-awaited, much
Yes.
anticipated conversation about crash.
Crash, everyone's favorite.
Jordan Alexander, as well as Lindsay Bennett have done a lot of work on this to get to the point where we are today. So, I'm excited for Jordan to kind of, share with the public, what the results of our procurement efforts have been. I will say that we're not going to approve anything here today. This is simply just an opportunity to socialize it with the community. We have an awful lot of communication that's going to be going out between now and the next Board of Public Works meeting, where people will have the opportunity to voice their support, concerns, or frankly, their remonstration against the contract. In fact, we'll be moving downstairs for that meeting in anticipation
Yes.
of a larger crowd. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Jordan to kind of go over the results.
Yeah, so like the mayor mentioned, not approving anything today. If I can get this to go to the next slide, Tracy. Do you know why? Okay, here we go.
There you go.
So I did just want to give everyone a refresher on how we got here. So back in 2023, council asked city staff to really identify a path forward for trash collection. So this came after really 1.5 to 2 years of complaints, both the council and city staff regarding residential trash removal. So the first step in all of this was put out a citywide survey. So we put that out late last year, had great response, like 2,600 respondents. Almost every HOA responded to the HOA survey. We went back to council, presented those results. Those are all available online if anyone is interested. But following that presentation and after kind of talking to a lot of residents and also talking to HOAs and realizing the appetite for a potential citywide contract had changed a little bit, council recommended that we go ahead, put out an RFP to really just see what we get back and something to respond to. So that process started at the start of this year. Obviously, we brought a preliminary RFP to Board of Public Works in February, brought the final version in April, and then that hit the street soon after. We received proposals back in June, so got all those back June 10th. And really since June 10th, we've been reviewing internally and having interviews with the offers as well. So obviously, we're here now in the highlighted area in July, presenting our recommendation to the board. Like the mayor mentioned, if things continue to progress, we anticipate August 13th for the public hearing and official contract consideration, hopefully approval. And then we'd be looking at September or October for council to adopt the rate ordinance. So that's the only role that city council would have in this, is actually adopting the trash rates, which we'll talk about here in a second. We are still targeting Q1, even more specifically January of 2025 for this. The recommended contractor has no concerns with that ramp up date. And so that's what we're tracking toward right now. And like Scott mentioned, we'll have a lot of communication leading up to that go live date. Before I get into who we're recommending, I did just want to go through the review process really quickly. So we had 3 offers respond to the RFP. So we had Waste Management or Public Services, and then a newcomer, Priority Waste. They responded to 5, 6, and 7-year proposals across a variety of alternates. So we had them respond to weekly recycling, bi-weekly recycling. We had a Christmas tree pickup alternate in there, city facilities alternate as well, which we will be moving forward with, which I'll talk about here in a second. So a variety of alternates there. Following the review of those initial submissions and then the initial interview of offers, staff narrowed down to the bi-weekly recycle and weekly trash option. One, it was just more cost effective across the board for all contractors. Also, from the survey, we found that only about 35% of residents actually currently utilize recycling. So even the bi-weekly will be a significant increase in services to the vast majority of residents. We also were leaning toward, at this time, the 7-year proposals, because as you can imagine, the rates got progressively more favorable with the longer term contract. Along that similar line of thinking, we went ahead and asked offers to also submit 10-year proposals. Again, just seeking the most favorable pricing for the longest period of time for residents. I will note also the review of the submissions and then also this recommendation, it was not based solely on cost of services, as you would see in a traditional bid where you just take lowest cost. We really were focusing on ability to obviously service the community, but also to ramp up services. So we have over 32,000 residential units that need to be served. So that is no easy feat in ramping up to that number. And obviously, trash has been a pain point in the community, so staff wanted to be very confident in whoever we select that they would be able to make that transition and make that change management as seamless as possible. So with that, I'll get into who we're recommending, and then I'll talk a little bit about like the actual bid comparisons with other offers. But considering all of that, we are recommending to move forward with Republic Services on a 10-year contract. Again, I'll show the bid comparisons on the next slide. But in addition to the competitive rates that Republic proposed, they do have 60% of Fisher's residential market currently. So again, going back to the change management considerations, and that's not an insignificant lift to get up to 32,000 units. So there's definitely something to be said about having that 60% of the market. I'll talk about priority waste a little bit on the next slide, but they offered pretty competitive rates, but they currently have 0% of residential units in Fishers, and there are a lot of concerns internally on their ability to go from 0 units to 32,000 plus. So in addition to that, like I said, these are competitive. Per that survey, this year one monthly rate of $16.39 is a lower monthly rate for nearly 85% of residents. And then furthermore, if you go all the way down to year 10, that $26.89 amount, that is still substantially lower than about what 50% of residents are currently paying. So we found through that survey that around 46% of residents are paying over $30 a month right now. So again, even in that 10-year, we're still lower than nearly 50%. Another kind of key feature to Republic was their snowbird service. So they allow for, if a resident's going to be gone for a month or longer, to actually pause services. We obviously have a lot of community members that are snowbirds and leave Fishers for an extended period. So that was an important feature for us. And then end of the day, I mean, Republic has a longstanding presence in Fishers. They're obviously very familiar with Fishers. Again, going back to the confidence in a contractor to be able to deliver. Republic's familiar with the routes here. That was a big concern with Priority, not having a large presence in central Indiana, that they would not be able to effectively ramp up and continue to serve that number of units. So here's the overview. Again, we will have all of the different alternates posted. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, there were like 35 different alternates, so I didn't want to go through all of those today. I just pulled the 7 and 10 years since that's what we focused in on for weekly trash and bi-weekly recycling. Again, like I said, on the 7-year, you can see Priority did come in low. Republic and Waste Management were pretty competitive. But again, I've already expressed kind of the concerns we had with Priority from a service standpoint and being a relatively new contractor. So once we went back and asked for the 10-year contract, you can see Waste Management at that point, they came in pretty high on the 10-year. So we really focused in at that point on Priority and Republic. Republic ultimately was able to have the lowest rates for that year 1, 2, and 3. You can see Priority was lowest across the board for the long term. But again, when we go back to just our staff's confidence and a contractor that would be able to serve and ramp up to the number of units that need to be served, we ultimately felt Republic was the best decision, both from a cost perspective, long-term, and then from that service component as well. I'll also note that all these rates include fuel surcharge, inflation costs, and the city's admin fee for billing, because we will be handling billing on this front. Residents will receive a monthly bill that will include their sanitary, stormwater, and trash if they're on sanitary and stormwater as well. And then here's just the overall contract overview. Again, this will all be posted, but high level, looking at weekly trash collection, bi-weekly recycling, Every resident will have 2 96-gallon containers for waste, 1 for recycling. They'll have the option to scale down to a 65-gallon if that is of interest. Have some notes on what's acceptable in recycling there. We will have large bulk or heavy item pickup, which will be coordinated directly through Republic, which I believe it was $25 for individual bulk pickup. Also, extra trash bag stickers will be available through Republic as well. We were able to secure leaf pickup as well, which was a big point for residents. So both in the spring and April and then November and the fall, that's been a topic we consistently hear about, especially in neighborhoods when leaf are piling up in the fall. So we felt that was a win for the city as well. And then Republic also provides a special needs service for residents who cannot get their bins to the curb. And then there's just some language on holiday pickup there as well. But again, this will all be posted online. Like I said, today we just wanted to present this to the board prior to having a public hearing and official contract consideration in August. So yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Jordan. Jason or Jeff, do you have any questions for Jordan on the process or any details of the proposal for us?
So Jordan, in this agreement, 10 years, there's a lot of opportunity for growth for the community. So is there a threshold of adjustment over 32K households?
So we have talked about that. We don't anticipate, I have the numbers on what we anticipate our household to actually cap out at, which we'll be in communication with Republic on that. They're aware that as like even the annexation, as they come in, that some of those households will increase, and we'll adjust on that basis. But we've had conversations with Republic on that.
Okay, so there's an opportunity to decrease as this community grows.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So, excuse me, billing's handled through the city, but like issues with pickups or like a resident only wants 1 container of trash instead of 2, that's directly with Republic.
Correct. Yep. So they will handle all customer service, and we will try to direct all customer service to Republic.
I think the difference under this scenario is we get those calls now
Yeah.
anyways, but unfortunately we have no leverage over the providers to say, hey, you're not performing at the level you should be or what have you. We just basically give them a 1-800 number and say, good luck. Now we at least have the opportunity to say, you're not meeting the expectations of the contract. So I think that makes a big difference. I do think there's a conversation that residents need to be aware of. A lot of our HOAs do bill for trash. And so if we're going directly to the homeowner for that, there's a conversation between the residents and the HOA about what their HOA dues look like moving forward, that they're gonna have to have individually with their HOAs. We believe we can save people a lot of money, generally speaking. And, you know, there are some contracts, I believe, out in the city of Fishers today that are under the dollar amount that's being proposed here today. But, and I don't want to speak for Republic or anyone else in the trash service, but my understanding of that is those might be lingering from multiple years in the past, you know, 3 or 5 year contracts that are going to come due in the next year or two. And when they do, the likelihood that you'll re-up under what this contract is highly, highly unlikely. Sure. So, but I do think HOAs need to be aware of the fact that like, or residents need to be aware of the fact, if your HOA doesn't reduce your dues, you should probably go have a conversation with your HOA about what's going on there. That'll be an important conversation.
What's the renewal discussion on this? So it's a 10-year contract, but obviously it's a big one. So is it at 8 years, you start talking about this again, or are there annual or like 1-year renewals automatically built in? Where we?
So we can, well, we had a basic contract like with the RFP that came to you guys over the next couple weeks prior to bringing that back to you in August. We can include some of that in there. Like I said, we'll be working with Lindsay, our city attorney, on structuring that. So, I mean, if that's something.
I think it's a
interest,
great
we
point.
can- Yeah.
I think it's a good point to put in there.
Okay.
And, something to contemplate, because now we're talking, right now, we were having heartburn over switching 40 or 50% of the population.
Right.
In 10 years, you'd be talking about switching 100% of the population. I do think de-risking by locking in for 10 years, even though everyone sees that increase, but in today's environment, if companies willing to stand up and say, we'll take the risk of fuel prices going up, labor prices going up, and we're gonna lock in, at least in today's environment, that's a better scenario for us
Yeah,
than it is for them. Likely, I'd rather be gambling on our side than their side,
yeah.
about that.
So that is a fixed number then. I mean, I know there's fuel rates built into that, but there is no metric that says like
No
a CPI or
It's
like.
fixed. Yes.
The only opportunity is to decrease as the
Yeah.
inventory increases.
And so, yeah, there's no, I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah, trash isn't going away. I mean, so.
Yeah.
No, I think.
But I mean,
Ten is good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's no, when she said surcharges are included, just to clarify, what's meant there is that all costs are included in that rate. Like, there's no opportunity for, Republic to come back and say, well, yeah, but fuel went up this much, so I need to put a surcharge on there. It's,
they've taken that.
they've taken the risk associated with it.
Yeah, the old
Which
blues.
currently a lot of residents do experience that on their bills where it's not included.
Oh, yes.
And then, Jordan, do you want to touch briefly on the city contract for our services and what the difference is today versus?
Yeah, so I can post that as well. Right now, because I don't have it on here, but I have it in front of me. So right now, I believe we pay around 80,000 for our city facilities. We, in this RFP, added some city facilities to, that total facility amount. So in year one with Republic, we'll be like right at 100,000 in this, proposal from Republic, and that will increase over 10 years to 176,000. So again, after talking with DPW, Eric Steiner, and Eric Pebble handle our contract on the facilities side. They were comfortable with moving forward on this just based on the facilities we're adding. And right now, our facilities are broken up between a variety of different providers. So this will be much more streamlined in terms of contacting, when things aren't getting picked up or any of that. So, which again, I'll post all of that and we'll discuss that in August when I come back to you.
Any additional questions?
None for me.
So moving forward, directly after this meeting, a variety of different press announcements as well as community announcements will go out. So everyone is well aware of every aspect of this proposal. And then we encourage people to provide their feedback at the upcoming public hearing that we're going to have to share their thoughts and considerations on this, and we'll go from there. Anything else, Jordan?
I think that's all I have.
Yes, sure.
Mark Schneider of the Parks and White River Homeowners. I see leaf and landscape waste. Does that mean that during the other months, landscape waste does not go in the trash?
It can, I don't know.
Because it does now with Republic, you bag leaves.
In the park.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're talking about separate and distinct. That's the big deal. I understand that. In the cart's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate your question.
And I imagine we're going to have a million of those types of
Yeah.
questions coming up. So
Sorry I hit you with that early.
And, well, on the note of communication, we will have a landing page up. We'll continue to like refine that with like FAQs as this rolls out. Right now, it's pretty generic just on the high level questions, but we'll continue to have a lot of FAQs on that.
All right, if there are no other questions for Jordan, I want to thank you for your time and effort on this and the continued discussions you're going to have with the community here over the next couple of weeks. Annexation and trash, this is a
Yep.
fun time to be in these roles. If there are no other unfinished or new business items, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Got a motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Your answers.
That wasn't, I was here for that.
Like I said,
I'm correct.